YoungWomanFlourish podcast. I'm your host, Shania Cherie, and I'm super excited for this week's episode, but I'm even more excited about this week's guest. This week's guest will be someone who has become my calculator brother, as well as the founder and the creator of Kai's Poetry Club, also known as KPC, and he also produces music as well, and it's just, he liked that in the city, you know. Kai.
How y'all doing? My name is Kai, as she said. I am the owner of KPC, Kai's Poetry Club. I am a musician, and I'm also a mental health activist from the best city in the world, Chicago. You know what I'm saying? And I'm happy to be here, man. Thank you for having me here. You know what I'm saying? Thank you. Thank you. Come on, bro.
I'm excited about this conversation because we have a great topic this week. But not only is it a great topic, it's going to be a great conversation because me and Kai, we have great conversations, but we have like great debates too. We're always in combat, like going back and forth with each other. Yeah. Because Kai be trying me, if I'm being honest. He's probably going to try me during this episode. But also, before we get started, Happy Black History Month. It is, look, it says she black.
And I got a brown hat on.
Represent your people.
So the brown hat, I got a brown hat on. Okay. That's for my people.
Happy Black History Month, folks. You know, stay black, stay proud.
You know what I'm saying? That's for the people.
That's for the people.
That's for the people right there.
So, okay, y'all. Before we even get started into this episode, you know we have to start off with our SOTD, which is our scripture of the day. And this week's scripture of the day is very significant and important to me, but it is from Mark chapter 5, verse 34. He said to her, "Daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace and be freed from your suffering." This is the NIV version. Again, he said to her, "Daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace and be freed from your suffering." Mark chapter 5, verse 34. So I find this very significant, and I'm going to break this down a little bit more once we get into it, into the episode. But it's going to really hit with what we're talking about once we break it down a little bit more. But as you see by the title, it is called It's Stuck, I think. And I found this title to be very significant because we're going to be discussing things from the childhood that may have stuck, things from, you know, just growing up that stuck with you that we don't quite talk about. And I thought it would be very interesting because, like, so many times through life experiences, we tend to just say patterns, like, it's stuck. And we're content with it, and we live with it. Instead of, like, I had a moment today where I'm like, did it though? Like, is it, like, can I, like, release this real quick? So I just was like, I think it's perfect to be like, it's stuck, I think. Yeah, because we never know if you're really stuck, like, or are you just content with it and you just want to stick with it? Like,
yeah, you know what I'm saying? A lot of people don't even want to put the work in to, like, try to see if it's something that's there that needs to be changed. Or some people just more content with that type of way of thinking. So
I'm super excited about this conversation. It's gonna be good. So as we get started, the first thing that I really wanted to hop into is, okay, so I'm 20 right now. Like, at my age of 20, the space that I'm in is not so quite uncomfortable, but it's not comfortable. It's different. So I'm in this space of different. It's not comfortable. Like, I'm in this space of, like, different, basically, where everything in my life is changing. Like, and it may sound like really like corny and movie like, where you be like, once I hit 20, my life has changed. But like, it really has, everything is changing for me. My taste is changing, my patience is changing, my style is changing, how I do relationships is changing, the things that I like is changing, my faith is changing. So, and I could go on and on, but like, everything in my life right now is changing. It's different. And so, like, in the process of change, I had to realize that, well, you don't really know you're changing unless you know what you're changing from. And so, like, I hit this point where I'm like, okay, so what am I changing from? Like, in that aspect. Like, have you ever, like, even in your point now, like, because you up and left. Yeah. First of all, I feel like you gotta tell them, that's what made me really just respect you and inspired me about you when we first started talking, and you were like, how you just up and left because you got the offer like 2 days before I think school started or something.
I got accepted mad late. I got accepted mad late.
So Kai is a transfer student to Clark. Yes, we met last semester. I was gonna say last year, but we met last semester.
I had so I didn't really know too much about HBCUs. I'm gonna keep it a stack. I didn't know too much about HBCUs, and I want to say that's like poor judgment like on my school, because I enjoyed my high school a lot that I went to. I just feel like if it wasn't the resources, it was the information. A lot of people didn't know about HBCUs outside of that, so they couldn't give it to the kid. For most of the part of leaving school, we was told to go to Illinois schools. Like our guidance counselors was trying us up for like NIU, EIU.
Heavy on the NIU.
You know what I'm saying? NIU. That was the joint. NIU. That was the joint everybody was going to. So, I didn't know what I wanted to do. Like as far as college, so I went to the truth, and it was like my stuff was mad pandemic. Like it was right there. Lockdown happened like what, February 2020.
Yeah, February, March.
I started getting my stuff together probably like March. I had one visit. Like I had one college visit. I was like, I'm gonna go there because I ain't really know. You know what I'm saying? So I ended up going to a JUCO in Iowa, and I had enjoyed it. It was cool, and I did 1 year. I did 1 year in person. I did 1 year out, and then. But I'm saying all this to say, my time at Iowa, ironically, that's when I started finding out about historically black colleges and more stuff like that, and start like tuning into a lot of information that I didn't know before. And
Clark was actually one of the first schools I've ever seen in my life. Like one of the first colleges I've ever seen in my life. In like 2018, I was in Atlanta with my cousins.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I saw Clark, and that was like one of the first schools. Like knowing pretty what I didn't know, but like I didn't know too much about schools for it. So I was like, I'm always like trying to like go with the flow of my judgment and go with the flow of my gut. And I graduated, got my associates in July, got accepted in August, and I had man, they told me like, yeah, if you trying to do something, you gotta come down here. Like you're not gonna get nothing done with the phone. So I probably had, like I said, I had like 3 days for the decision. Like I told my people, it's like, yeah, I'm trying to do this. And I was like, all right, and I had to make that drive down here.
Kai's being modest right now, but Clark let him know that he could come. He had got accepted and everything. And in like 3 days, 2 days time, Kai had to make the decision. And he just packed up his car, drove all the way from Chicago to Atlanta. And then, mind y'all, Clark didn't have housing.
Yeah.
So Kai then had to live with like a distant relative that's 30 minutes from the school campus. And if you drive in Atlanta traffic,
whoa.
know. So like that's 30 minutes from the school campus. So he had to try to like learn this whole new school that has another type of culture as well, and be staying with a distant relative, going back and forth to the classes. Like it was just, I admired that a lot. Like it was and that's gonna go so heavy with something else we're gonna talk about. But like Kai just had made this decision to just go, and so like I wonder like lately have you been, especially since the change of schools, but also just you being, but you were away when you went to Iowa too, being family, like did you start realizing things were like a process of change?
From Iowa to Atlanta?
No, just like in general in your life, like from like, your childhood, how you grew up.
So what's dope I tell anybody like, I love Chicago to death, but I tell anybody, if you got the chance, you got the opportunity, just leave for a while. You know what I'm saying? I ain't saying go away forever if you don't want to do that.
Right.
I always tell like my little homies, I always tell them, like I talk to my little sister about it. Well, she don't live in Chicago no more, but like when she did, I talked to a lot of people that's younger than me. I was telling them like, yeah, like if you ever got the opportunity, definitely like get out the crib for a while, just so you can like appreciate it more, but cherish other things, and just you need that type of experience, The cool thing is, so actually when I went to Iowa, I stayed in the Sweetheart. And the Sweetheart I stayed in was with people I knew, like from Chicago, which was like crazy. So a lot of the things as far as like change and like environment, I didn't feel that shit. Cause I was still around people I knew from the city. So it was actually cooler. It was like we all came together. We like not all
to another state.
Just another state. It was one of my close homeboys, David. He came with me, and then like 2 of our other homeboys we knew. It was like, all right, bet. And it was like, all right. So it never felt different. I mean, anytime I felt like bored or lonely, I felt like my homies was right there. So it was never, but like Iowa was
I'm gonna say this. I wouldn't feel. I mean, it was at 10 o'clock. You know, I miss Chicago, of course, but I never felt too down. I never felt too in my head because I actually was enjoying it a little bit. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know. I feel that I couldn't really fully reshape my way of thinking of all that because I was still around people, you know, I knew and everything. But after a while, you know what I'm saying? Like, I definitely, over time, I wouldn't say I left Iowa with something that I didn't have when I went to Iowa at first. Like, I came back to Chicago as someone totally different, and I felt it. And I didn't know what it was. I low-key still can't even tell you what it was, but I felt different. You know what I'm saying? You spend a year away from the crib, and you just go back to the crib.
Yeah. And you know, Dr. Moore just was telling me on like Tuesday that he had or it was last Thursday that he had a conversation with another professor's class, and they started talking to him about like what's that feeling, that aspect of, it's like when every college student goes home, and they were saying like how they felt just so disconnected from their family and from their environment. They're like, we're trying to enjoy home, and you don't want to make people think that you think you're better than them or anything, but it's just like this feeling of disconnect where you just feel like a stranger in your own home, in a sense. And like, I was like, that's crazy that they was talking to you about that, because I struggle with that a lot, especially like my freshman year, winter break.
You enjoy being home?
Now I do, but like freshman year, I hate it. Like, I hate it so bad. First of all, winter break was like dead, because our winter break last year, it got extended because of COVID cases rising. So like it went from like a month to 2 months, and that month was already enforced. So like I remember just being like, God, please, just one more day, just let me get there. And then by the summertime, I was miserable. I cried every day. Like I had started because I felt so disconnected, and I talked about how like I had one uncle who for some reason could see it in me. Like he could see that I was disconnected, and he always checked up on me. But it just felt like, one, I felt like a stranger to my family. Even though they didn't treat me like that, but I felt as though, this is how I try to explain it. When we're out here in college, first of all, when we leave home and come to college,
like a mission.
We look a certain type, we look away type people, you know, and when we come back, we look the exact same that we looked when we left half the time. But so much has happened. So much can happen. 2 months in college.
4 months.
Yes, like so much.
That 4 month period really like.
What we experienced life.
Yeah.
And I don't think people get that. Like I just seen a post that was like, college is way more than just school.
And books. Yeah.
School is like 10% of it.
I always say this. I be telling one of my best friends this. I always say this. College give you 1,000 reasons to fail and like 2 to actually succeed. Like I always say that. Like. Real for real, bro. Like
I can see that though, for real, because like we experienced life. Like I was like, the things that I experienced, shaping, like getting me prepared for adulthood in my last month of my freshman year.
Was it forced for you? Like was your parents like forcing you to go to college? Like push you?
No, it's interesting because Dr. Moore asked me the other day, he's like, are your parents proud of you? And then he goes, are your parents happy with your career choices? I'm like, what you trying to say, Dr. Moore? But and shout out Dr. Moore. No, I've always had high aspirations for myself. Like since I was little. So my parents, they didn't have to, back 8th grade, I was calling Spelman in 8th grade. And I was figuring out, okay, what are the steps that I need to do to make sure I'm ready to succeed senior year of high school? Spelman was my number one choice. Like until my senior year, I got accepted into every school I applied to. But I remember Spelman was the last school I told I wasn't accepting the offer. And I remember being on the phone with the lady like, yeah, I just decided I'm gonna be a Clark. I'm gonna Clark. Like Clark chose me, I didn't choose Clark. Like, and I mean that in the fullest way because I prayed on my decision, because I got accepted into every choice. So like I had to really pray on it. But yeah, it wasn't forced on me, but I experienced some life that really shaped me as like a woman my last month of college freshman year. So when I went back home, it was like, y'all don't even know. Y'all don't know what I was going through, so like y'all can't. So I'm in my mind about everything that's happening in Atlanta, and they are still focused on like you ever go home and you be like, y'all on the same stuff? In the most respectful way. But like it's like with friend groups, like in different things, and you be like
this is where I like differ in this sense. Like So like, cause I literally just having this conversation with my girlfriend. So like for me, I feel like I enjoy going home in the sense of like, so for me,
Because you be eating.
I be eating, you know what I'm
You
saying?
be sending
I be
us
crazy.
pictures.
But I never had like I was never forced. Like my parents was mad cool on decision as far as, that's not saying they didn't want me to go to school. Like, you know what I'm saying? My mama, you know, she mentioned it that I was coming up. And, you know, my pops, you know, he mentioned it, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, that's what you want to do, go ahead, you know, we're going to support it. But I was never like a you going to college. Like,
Right,
I just started thinking about going to college to my sophomore going to my junior year.
You know, all my close friends did not even think about going to college. Like, Kay was like, she wasn't, last episode, she said, I don't want to go to college. School after school is crazy.
Bro, I remember being a freshman in high, because there's a lot of things that in my high school life to middle school pipeline that really are. That's the thing I feel like as well. I feel like college I feel more negative kind of like burdens from like being in college. I feel like growing up though, it was things I went through that kind of prepped me and kind of made me a certain way already. So like the whole like going away and feeling like this drastic personality switch, I never felt that. Like when I went away the first time, I'm like, I still feel the same way. When I came back to Chicago, I felt different in the sense of not that they was on the same stuff, because I would want them to kind of be on the same stuff. That's what I find comforting.
Because it's comfortable.
I find, cause that's my homies, you know what I'm saying? Like I've never had friendships or friend groups that are like, I've never been around people that are very like, how can I say this? Not inspired. I'm inspired by every one of my friends. All my friends are like, all my friends are like the coolest people ever. Like my homies is really cool.
Have circle inspired.
So when I go home.
But even remember when we were talking about, and this isn't like highly negative, but when we were talking about when you be in Dr. Moore's class and you find something out, you text in the group chat.
Oh yeah.
Like,
yeah. That's in the sense, but I'm not mad at them for that. Like I don't.
Yeah, no, that's not a fault type of thing.
I don't front them for that because most of the dudes, you know what I'm saying, I might text like some of them are in college, some of them not. You know what I'm saying, and they still have their way of thinking in certain things. I feel like
I'm not going to my friends for nothing but for them being them. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I don't really need like the drastic change from them. You know, for some people they might need that. You know what I'm saying? But my girlfriend, like she tells me things about how sometimes change is needed for her. I'm a person I really thrive in a normal daily basis. I really thrive in like a very.
You like pattern.
I like patterns. I like a comfort and power. I don't. But when I go home,
therapy.
When I go, you say I need
I
therapy.
said, therapy.
I need therapy because I like comfort and patterns.
No. Not saying that, but there's growth in being comfortable.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I'm like your girlfriend. Like how she was saying she thrives with change.
Yeah.
Like I'm also like a person that loves traditions. So I love traditions, but I also know from my experience that
I feel like
I need to be in uncomfortable places sometimes for growth.
I feel like our generation is forcing it. It's not a we know. I don't feel like anything is.
In what way? Forcing it in what way?
I don't feel like nothing is natural growth anymore. I feel like everything is like. I feel like
I think I do what you said.
We kind of like cut our own legs in situations where we talk about how on one side that therapy, patience, we need the type of things, but then we also, you know, we retweet like for a 2023 financial year and like all. I feel like these type of things like.
Okay.
I don't feel like a lot of things that we feel coincide with each other. I feel like I like change when it's natural. See, like my mama just moved, right? Okay. My mama just moved, and she moved from Chicago. She moved to North Carolina. I just went to go see her in North Carolina a couple months ago. Right. It was a natural change. It was a natural shift for her to like. She was ready to get up out of there. You know what I'm saying? She was ready to get up out of Chicago, but she never made it like she never kept saying like things gotta change. She just was like, you know, when the time is right.
So your issue is.
I don't have an issue. No. If that's what it is,
no. But what you just said, when you're like, what'd you say? You were like, the like or retweet for that. First of all, it has nothing to do with anything.
It does. It does.
It's
forcing the change.
Different. But how do you know someone that is speaking that I need to change isn't making it natural just because prime example, my mom talked to me and was telling me how before she moved to Tennessee, before she told anybody else that she was going to do it, she was like, I need to change this time for me to start reprioritizing some things. Because like my grandma passed away, her mom, and so like.
Was that like a natural change for her? You know what I'm saying? Because things was just, it was a lot going on for us.
Life, I'm probably gonna have to cut that out, but life has happened. And just because she's able to acknowledge life happened and there needed to be a change. Just because, and that's where there's a problem. We skip over the acknowledgement.
Yeah.
And we go straight to like, it doesn't make it more natural when you skip acknowledgement and just do it.
Mm-hmm.
Because in order to just do it, you had to acknowledge something.
I feel like there's no problem.
Like something, like even with your mom, something had to be in her that she was able to acknowledge where like, okay, there has been an expiration date on my time shot.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's time for me to move on. Just because she did like vocally express
and I'm not
that
saying
to
that's
you,
not natural. I'm not saying that's not
okay,
natural.
so then what's not
And
natural?
I'm also not saying like if you do the retweet, you know, that's cool. I be liking them sometimes.
No.
You know what I'm saying? Pockets be low. You gotta do what you gotta do. I'm just saying.
I'm not judging you. You do the retweet.
I'm just saying in the sense of like, look, pretty much what I'm saying. Like, I personally walk by my own beat. I feel like I'm okay with. My father taught me to like really be okay with your comforting things. So I'm really okay with like, I feel like our generation puts a lot of pressure on forcefully doing a lot of things. I feel like it's a lot of force into a lot of things, and things aren't as natural as they should be. If change is necessary, if my homies, I see my homies was doing something, now I go home and they doing something negative.
Yeah,
and it's like, bro, like, come on, bro. Or it's like,
and
they
I know
like,
you think I'm saying like you need to change
you know what I'm saying?
your circle.
Or they in a positive state, but it's like, well, I can't even say that, because if they in a positive state, I'm not gonna be mad at them.
I get what you're saying, and it wasn't me saying like when I say like like y'all ain't changing nothing,
right?
Because that's not what I'm saying. Because even though you can't fully see it, because you're evolving and your friends are evolving as well. Even the ones that aren't in college, the ones that are in college, you guys are evolving individually and evolving together. So that's why it's not a thing. Because it's not a thing. That's like if not changing is like if I had friends and we've been friends since like middle school, and now we're at 20, and you're still behaving as if we're in middle school.
Right.
But if you're behaving 20-year-old you, and we're still compatible, that's not an issue. I'm not asking you to change your likes, your hobbies, but I'm saying evolve. It's a problem when I go home and you haven't evolved, because now when I've evolved,
what do you mean evolve?
So listen, because now when I evolve and you haven't evolved, when I begin to talk or have certain conversations and tell you certain things that activists, mental health wise, like certain things that bother me, or I have certain conversations, and they're saying, oh, you think you better than everybody. Well, you think you smart because you went to college?
That's how you feel?
No, but I'm saying that's a prime example of that. Like, I don't want to expose no people, so I don't want to go too but like, just the aspect of like, people can evolve, and sometimes because you've been with them through that whole experience, you don't necessarily see it directly. Just like when you saying like, I know I changed, but I don't know how.
Yeah.
Your friends have evolved too.
Yeah, and I'm not
so that's how you know it's not a situation where it's like, oh, y'all need to change now. So that doesn't apply to that situation.
They personally.
So y'all make it apply.
I would, huh? Hey, but she
No,
get me stuck in some conversations. But I'm not saying, look, I was saying, like, when I'm saying I go home and they're doing, because I'm like so inspired by them, I'm inspired by them because they do great stuff.
Right.
So when I go home, and I mean, like, and it changes the sense, like, they're consistently doing great stuff. I mean, I'm thinking you mean like a whole change as in like them personally. That's what I'm thinking you mean. No. I'm saying like, I enjoy the comfort of going back to the crib because things are still positive and good. And in the sense of, that's why I ask certain people. I'm not saying this doesn't really apply to anybody. I'm just saying, like, I know for some people they had a hard time at the crib. So like leaving to go to school You know what I'm saying? That's kind of like a big thing for them. I was never had that because I kind of just, I was on some new stuff. Like, I kind of just wanted to leave for myself to see, like, who I would be. You know what I'm saying? Who I would be after I couldn't know how would I
who
be.
I would be without my environment.
Yeah, you feel
environment.
Because I know I'm good here. You feel like I know I'm straight here. Like, I'm going to thrive in the city. You know what I'm saying? Anytime I'm
That's
back.
low-key, like, something though.
Yeah,
like
anytime
what you're saying. Like,
bro,
I know I'm going to thrive in my environment, so I have to step out.
That's really why I left. Like, that's really why I left. I didn't leave because I had a problem. I love Chicago. Like,
right, you see, that's what it was
you know
for
what I'm
me. Like, I was at my peak. I was doing good, but it was just like I wanted to see, like.
But you were saying that there's something.
But no, my freshman year, every time I went back, I hated it because I still.
That's what I'm saying. Why?
Because I was thriving at my peak in Atlanta. I found a space that I enjoyed, and there was a different level of support. And not saying that I didn't have support back at home because my family was like my biggest support system, but I found a space where I was thriving individually. I didn't live in anyone's shadows. I wasn't trying to figure. When I'm at home, my family.
That's how you felt.
My family has me like I'm their little baby. So I can't really step out towards the heat to like figure things out like I can in Atlanta, if that makes sense. Like I can't really experiment and try things like, you know, like in Atlanta you could be out at night or something, you can meet somebody with a different opportunity or something. That sounds really wrong.
Yeah.
Like, let me rephrase that. Like, so no, but I'm saying like I was more I want to use the right word because I wasn't really sheltered, but I was more, where you going?
So you feel like
okay, cool. I had more freedom.
Because you had.
I felt stuck.
And at the crib.
Yes, I felt stuck after a while because I also dealt
Is this
with
personal?
my last few years. I'm telling you.
Like feeling stuck, is that like a personal thing or that's like through your family type? Like,
oh, it was just a personal thing because I was at a point where I went through many seasons. My last few years being at home and like, and it was time for me to go.
Right.
Like it was time for me to like figure out exactly what you said. Who am I outside of this?
Yeah.
Who am I outside of the Brackett and Jones family name? Like who am I outside of just my church? Like who am I outside of this? And I wanted to experience that. Plus also, I knew I was going out of state because of one simple reason. I had to go to HBCU, Happy Black History Month. And Chicago don't got no HBCUs.
Yes, we do.
They don't say Chicago University. University of Chicago.
We got Killwood.
So I'm like, no, like I had to go out.
We got Killwood. What you talking about? Killwood is an HBCU.
You see, and that's exactly why I thought you were from outside.
Killwood at HBCU. It's like, you know what I'm saying? Killwood at HBCU. You know what I'm saying?
But so then that goes into like, so I wanted to talk about, because we went on a whole rant about our city in Atlanta. So I wanted to talk about basically.
I'm gonna keep my mouth shut a little bit on that because it's going up. You know what I'm saying? Like about,
yeah.
I'm gonna chill.
So that's why I was like, it's hard to really, because we can talk about this off camera and I can give you specific details, but I don't want to like say
certain
something.
things I can't say over.
And then we be getting back and forth and we mess around and say something
Yeah.
that we don't got no business saying.
Yeah,
So
I'm gonna keep it PG. I'm gonna keep it G-rated.
So, yeah, we can get into an argument. So basically, I thought about this aspect of pulling out what's stuck in. Like, so just, which goes into like how we were kind of talking about acknowledging things before going through the process of change. And so like I was really thinking about, because a lot of the times and what has impacted us and has become stuck to us from and attached to us from like childhood and different life experiences become rooted in who we are in life right now. So, and I thought about the image of something being rooted inside of us and like being able to pull that out because so we can acknowledge it. So like a prime example, well this isn't a prime example, but a story. It's like over the summer when I was at my grandma's house, we were sitting there. My grandma likes plants and stuff like that.
Right.
So she has like a bunch of different plants in her house and stuff like that. And so my uncle was about to throw out one of the plants because he was like, "Look at you laughing because you think it's was messy. He was about to throw out one of the plants, and he told her, she's like, don't throw it out. And he's like, it's dead. Like it's dead everywhere. And she was like, no, it got some green left. There's some plant left. Because he's like, but the roots are dead. So for him, like, this is clearly a dead thing. And for my grandma, she was able to see that even in the midst of all the bruising, the dead, and everything, there's still a piece of it that's green. There's still some green left in it. And when I was thinking of this when I was thinking of this moment, like, God began to reveal to me about, what if that's you, or what if that's someone else? Because of what you've experienced in life, because of your environment, because of your childhood, because for some people childhood wasn't happy.
Right.
You know, because of how you were raised in different aspects, how what's rooted in you, it ain't so happy, it ain't so joyful. What's rooted in you ain't so cute. It might be a little bit ugly. And when you begin to look at it, pieces of your character aren't so like sweet, aren't so positive. Pieces of who you've become, there's some negative attributes, your attitude, the bruising, the ugliness, the anger, the frustration. That's what most people see, but God was saying that for some people, just because you felt like you've been drowning in your anger and your frustration and your stress and like your childhood attachments, does not mean that there's not a little piece of green in you. Right. There's still some piece to your core that is thriving to become who you're called to be. Just because of who you are doesn't look like who you're called to be just yet. Doesn't mean there's not a piece of you that's still trying to flourish, still trying to evolve and things like that.
I believe that every 6 months you become a new person. You know what I'm saying? I feel like that everybody.
And you know, Dr. Bash just says, be in a relationship with somebody for 6 months, you'll see who they are.
For just 6 months?
And that's what I'm saying. I think that's too short.
That's way too short. Just for 6 months?
You know what I'm saying? You could play a whole actor.
I say 3 years.
I say some years, yeah.
3 years.
I say move in with somebody.
Yeah, move in with somebody. You'll definitely
learn
somebody
new.
new.
See that every year.
Yeah. Go back to the point.
Every 6 months you are a different person. In the sense of, let me not say different person. Every 6 months you grow into something new. Whether that's, you know what I'm saying, bad or good, every 6 months you got a new. I feel like every 6 months you should walk away with a new perspective on yourself in life. You know what I'm saying? At least that's what I try to get into. But I believe there's something inside everybody. I don't know if this is like mad optimistic, but like I do believe like it's like everybody got some type of good in them. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody got a route they supposed to be taking, like in life. You know what I'm saying? And it's just different roads and different ways that God put us to get there. You know what I'm saying? Like I go to I go to school right now. I go to Clark and everything, but I might not be there next year. I might have whatever I'm supposed to do. I feel like it just became like a point in time in my life. I stopped like. I don't know when it was, but I know it was like in the last few years. I stopped like last 2 years. I stopped for real just trying so hard to like have both hands navigate what I'm doing. I'm like, you know what I'm saying? Like God really got me somewhere. You know what I'm saying? That I'm actually, and I found like peace in it, like knowing like I don't know where I'm gonna be at, but I'm gonna be somewhere like I love. Like I'm gonna be somewhere fighting.
I'm at peace, not controlling the steering wheel.
Yeah, you know
like
what I'm saying?
letting God get that, and just like even. Because it was just super important, because even just the aspect of like, because even when I was thinking about it and thinking about how like there is something that's still in you. So like you could be able to uproot and pull out the things that may have been just toxic to who you were or toxic to your evolvement in life.
That's what you're asking? Is that like kind of what you're asking?
Well, no, I had asked you, what did I ask you?
Yeah, I was trying to get the question.
But so I believe I had asked you, basically like, are there some things that you were able to? I didn't ask you anything.
I thought that's the question you was like alluding to.
Oh no.
Oh okay.
No, I hadn't asked you.
I thought that's what you was alluding to. My bad, y'all.
No, I was telling you a story, but an interesting point that I had seen was listen to both pain. Listen to pain is both history teacher and fortune teller.
History, so how listen to pain and how you got here from your past, and listen to pain and how you can get better from your future. type beat?
I mean, if that's how you interpret it.
I've never
Because
had.
it says, listen to pain is both history teacher and fortune teller.
I've never sat and just analyzed the pain. I feel like I am in therapy, but I've never personally like I've sat and analyzed more so with my anxiousness ever than with my pain. Like I don't really feel like I've really sat there and sat with the things that have caused me pain. I know I've caused me pain. I know I've done like hurt before, in a sense, but I feel like a lot of my pain and hurt comes from a lot of anxiousness. I ain't gonna lie. I think anxiousness has always been my moral like fight for myself rather than anything else. Pain, happiness. It's always just been anxiousness for me. You know what I'm saying? I don't think I've ever separated it long enough to really decipher what causes me it or where it comes from through things that like things that's like that stuff in me. You know what I'm saying?
See, my healing came from sitting with it.
From sitting with it? Like
Sure.
just
I could not have healed without being able to sit with it.
What do you mean by that? Like sitting with it?
So, first and foremost, I brought up the pain aspect because a lot of the times I believe that sometimes we choose not to acknowledge certain patterns and traits that are attached and stuck on us in our life because it leads to pain half the time. Half the time our traits and patterns are rooted in pain. And so like what helped me in my own healing journey through my transformation journey of going from who I am not to who I'm called to be, I had to sit with it. I had to sit with God. Like I don't know if I told you this, but like because you said I don't really give you a detail of like my life, like I breeze past it.
Right, yeah.
But so when I was at like my lowest in life, my sophomore year of high school, it was really, really low, and there was a moment where I had tried to kill myself, and it didn't work. And so yeah, and it didn't work. The ghetto. And I remember waking up the next day being like, God. like me telling God, like, oh, God.
I had a plan.
I had a plan. I'm miserable, and I've been miserable for years. Like you just so after having my God moment, I realized, okay, every day that there's breath in my body, there has to be a reason.
Right.
So if you're not gonna let me take my life that you've given me, the least you could do, God, is help show me like why I'm here. So I went through this process of because I've grown up in church my entire life, been surrounded by church and God my entire life, but I do tell people I didn't truly know God and have a relationship with God until my sophomore year. Because I had asked God, I was like, okay, God, I need to know you how my grandma know you. Because she has a type of faith that when all hell is breaking loose, she's like, oh, I'm gonna pray. Like, and I was like, I need that. She trusts you enough to say I'm gonna pray, and when she prays, she leave it alone.
I mean, in my 20 years, I ain't gonna lie to you. I've had some events where, like, and I got a homeboy named CJ. Like, me and him talk about this all the time.
Shout out CJ.
Shout out CJ. Actually, him and his father, my coach, he just passed like last year. But Coach Wilson, when I was figuring out my relationship with God, you know what I'm saying? Because for a long time, a lot of people know, a lot of my close friends know this. I didn't believe in God for like a long time. I didn't I just recently started believing in God. Year 2018, like my dream, like at least, you know what I'm saying? If I had to,
I hear you.
My dream, and like I was around him, that was like a big part of me getting to that point. But me and him talk about how all the time how he's shown at least some people's testimony, but especially from my testimony, I've had some crazy things happen to me and some big L's, some big things that should have altered my life. I shouldn't even been held out. I mean, like, I'm not talking about dead. I'm just talking about I could have been in a whole.
Where you know God's hand had to be.
Had bro, what?
Like God had to have a good Michael Jordan.
Ain't no way he didn't have no way. Like like it's certain situations.
There's no way around it. It was God.
It's certain situations I dealt with scot free. I walked away scot free. I was straight. There's no way that would have happened without God. It's certain things I overcame through months, and I'm like, dang, I'm straight. Like I would never get that without God. I fully believe my testimony. Like I fully believe my testimony, and that's like for some of my friends, that are curious and worried and all that, you know what I'm saying? Because, I still have my moments where I'm still figuring out my relationship.
Right.
I'm still figuring out who I am with all this, but I try to look at my testimony, I try to think about my testimony, and I try to offer them my testimony as well, because I feel like with your grams, like, you need faith. Like, that's all we got in this world is faith. This unblinded, what we can't see, what we can't touch, but what we can feel, this faith, like, everything will be all right. Like, everything will be all right no matter what. Like, everything go wrong, things could go wrong. Right now, I'm going to be straight. I'm going to be back straight. Like, everything will be all right. And that's all to him. And I've had at least a good 4 times in my life. I'm only 20, so I'm mad young, but a good 4 times in my life where things could have really altered my life. And because of him, like, I really believe, like, I'm straight.
Yeah. And like I was like, because I've had moments where I know I've experienced God's presence, but I knew I didn't have a relationship with God like my grandma did.
You think you got it done?
And so, what? We locked in. We is locked in. Ain't no switching up. Like, God is my dog. I talk to God more than I talk to anybody. Like, more than anybody. I was talking to God when I went to go grab you from outside. Like, so it was just, so I started to do things. I put discipline. I added discipline and obedience to the faith, the little bit of faith that I had. But I remember God's word said, if you just have faith the size of a mustard seed, I could work with it. So I had started fasting. I had got off social media. I had put myself on a schedule that every day that when I woke up, I would pray. And every day at 7 o'clock p.m., I would pray. And my 7 p.m. prayers were off the chain. Like at first, because I used to have this anxiety about praying, but then my uncle, who's a bishop, shout out Bishop Burgess Brackett, he had told me prayer doesn't have to sound perfect. Like you don't have to sound like you are just the best prayer in the world. Prayer is a conversation with God. And once I let that lead me, you couldn't stop me. But I had to sit. There were days where I didn't know what to say, so I had to sit there.
I want to get back to that.
And
you descending pain.
So that's what I'm going to.
Yeah.
So I really would have to sit there with no words, but ask God to hear my tears. Mm-hmm. Like I would just sit there and be like, God, I hope you hear my tears, hear my heart, because I don't know what to say. And so it took a lot, and when I had to sit there, that's when accountability rolled in. And like me and Kay were talking about last week, it hit a moment where God had to check me, because once I sat there long enough in my pain, I realized in the areas, okay, well, you can't be victim every time.
No.
Like, where's the accountability at? And God was able to show me that in me sitting there, it hurts like hell at first. Oh, it hurts, but I came out of hell with worship. Like, I came out of it stronger than I've ever entered into it. Like, every time now, even when I pray, I say, God, give me an encounter that when I leave here, I didn't enter into the prayer the same way. Mm-hmm. So, like, just that experience of, I consistently sat in it. Because some days I was left out of it like, oh, it was a good time. Other days I was like, God, I got to come back tomorrow. Like, so it was just like moments like that. But was there something you wanted to say?
I wanted to hear about the
sitting in it. Yeah, I had to sit with it. But here's the thing. When you sit with pain, we go into it with this idea that now you have to battle it. But I realized I wasn't going in the room alone. Like when I went into the room to sit in my pain, God was already in it. Yeah. He was waiting on me. God was like, I was waiting on you to catch up. Like, so, and it was a sense of relief, because even though I knew it would be hard, I had someone that was going to sit with me. And because I sat with him and God, I'm here now. I'm nothing like who I once was. So like, that blessed us enough to be able to even have a friendship because I sat with it.
That's how, yeah.
But even in the concept of, but that caused a lot. I had to change my thinking. But even with that concept going into faith, when we were just talking about how faith is very needed, and changing and thinking, I have something.
So,
no, go ahead.
I was gonna say around this time last year I didn't have none No, I think that's the most beautiful thing of being. I think that's the most like beautiful thing of being a human. On some like real like connection stuff with yourself is always trying to give yourself grace for the times that you didn't. You know what I'm saying? It was so many times in my life where I was in the car accident February 1st, and I said, okay, around this February 1st, I need to have something to have made myself proud from last February 1st, because I know how deep I was, and I know how hard I was with myself, I know how messed up I was, and I need to have some type of like connection to my past, to where it's like you did it, you know, you fulfilled this thing you made. I think the most important thing is always trying to remember that you are human, and always trying to remember to give yourself some type of reminder of grace to that, because life is hard, and we walk around with a lot of baggage, a lot of it's your fault, it's your fault. I feel a lot of that, and therapy has helped me with this, where it's like you really do have to take a lot of weight off your shoulder and realize, like, look how far you came just off your strength and off faith from Him. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's important. You know, so that's mad important. Having faith, having that strength, like, and having that grace. Like, you gotta, you know what I'm saying, having that grace. Life is hard. So life is hard, so don't make it harder on yourself. Don't be harder on yourself.
Yes, and that's why I think it's so, not just beautiful with life, but just the beauty in being God's child. Like, because we will be beating ourselves up. Like, because we is, like, being God's child, like, that's so beautiful to be able to say, like, even in the midst, I could have been in pain for 10 years. And all it takes, if I just turn around and look at you, which goes into my next point, why I found it so significant, the scripture that I read earlier that was like, He said to her, daughter, your faith has healed you, go in peace and be free from your suffering. I think he go like this. Okay. So the context, and this is Mark chapter 5, verse 34, the context of this story, so it's a quick little story I'm going to share with y'all. So Jesus was on his way to, and I'm paraphrasing for the deep Christians, okay, that try to attack me. I am paraphrasing.
This is not what you doing.
Look, that is not the exact words.
Who is your grandma? Who your grandma is? We gonna find her.
Believe in my grandma is crazy. Y'all don't see me turn to the Jesus that's at the table, okay? So Jesus was on his way to basically perform a miracle. Like, this mother had asked him to heal her daughter. Right, and so Jesus was on his way to go do that, and at this point, Jesus got a little bit of buzz, like niggas know who Jesus is, type. So at this point, like, the crowd, people are forming to like just see him, and he's moving to go, and there's this woman, and this woman has been bleeding for 12 years, suffering.
Huh?
And she has been suffering for 12 years. She's been paid people. She did went places, asked people to help her with the doctors, all these different things. And she's still been in suffering. Nothing has worked for 12 years.
12 years.
And Jesus comes, and she finds out that Jesus is coming, and he's in town and everything. And there's a crowd of people. It's hard to get to Jesus. So her first thought is, not that I'm going to yell out to him. Not I'm going to come like, hey, Jesus, hold on, stop, real quick. She says, if I could just touch his clothing, if I could just touch the hem of his garment, like if I could just touch him, touch his clothes, surely I'll be healed. Because the glory of him will fall down. And she touches his clothing. And she's immediately free from her suffering and healed. Oh my goodness, I love this story. She's immediately healed. And Jesus, he goes to say, who touched me? Because he feels the power leave his body. So he goes to say, who touched me? And his disciples like, how you feel? It's 1,000 people out here. Like, how you know somebody just touched you? And Jesus turns around, and she's kind of like a little bit like scared a little bit. Because she's like, uh-oh, I was the one that touched him. And when he turns, that's when he begins to tell her, like, daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace and be freed from your suffering. And what I found so important, so powerful, so powerful, God allowed me to say it, how you're giving it to me right now. When I looked up stuck, and like the definition of stuck, what stuck means to us, and I realized for me the opposite of stuck is free. And she was freed from her suffering, the very thing that 12 years, some of us create patterns in 10 weeks. And we're content with them. And we're like, this is life. So for that person that's like, you tell me I can be free from this, but this has been built. I'm 20 years deep. This has been my entire life. My entire family's life for 20 years. And she was in suffering, bleeding for 12 years, losing so, because when you bleed, you lose something. Losing so much for 12 years consistently. She did all that she could do. And she kept changing her thought process. There was something in her that said, if I could just. And I find that so, if I could just, I'm not going to yell him down because I know he on a mission. But if I could just touch the hem of his garment, if I could just get up today, if I could just go to therapy, if I could just change my route today, if I could just go to church, if I could just pray real quick, give you a moment, God, if I could just, and that if I could just was so heavy to me. Because she constantly changed her thinking. Imagine if she would have stayed in the thought of, I can't be healed. I didn't spend money, I didn't went to doctors. Until you change your thinking, you will continue to recycle your experiences. Like there has to be something in you that says, if I could just. Like, you can't give up. She was 12 years deep. When I said 12 years the first time, he was like 12? Like 12? 10 weeks.
That's a lot
It
of
takes
clothes.
30 days to form a habit, and we be locked in. Like,
That's a lot of clothes. That's a lot of red clothes. A lot of red
and
shoes.
she did not give up, and she was just like, if I could just. I ain't even gonna ask you for much, Jesus, because I've asked people. Ooh, see, that's a word in itself. She went through so many years of asking people for the help that she decided, you know what, I'll be about the action. I'm not gonna ask nobody else to sit there and fix it for me, to take me out of what I'm already into, what's rooted in me. Because this was something that most people would have probably figured, like, you know what, this is your life. Like, this is it for you. You're gonna bleed for the rest of your life. She was not content with that. I don't care what my mom's story was. I don't care what my dad's story is. Like, I don't care about any of that. I don't care about the traditions of what my family says that we're supposed to live up to. Because if I could just go and move to another state real quick, just for a few years so I can come back and change the trajectory of my city. Oh, if I could just, like, I could get excited just off of that simple phrase because it took her faith and that helped push her.
Faith is all you need. Faith is all you need.
And Jesus literally told her, your faith has healed you. Not my hands have healed you. Your faith has healed you. Because she thought it in her mind before she even touched him. The word says that she thought it, if I could just touch his clothing, surely I'll be healed. Not maybe, surely I'll be healed. Sometimes it comes with that like moment of like stating it and walking in it and just that experience. I found that super happy.
That's real.
Motivating.
That's real. That's real. The faith is all you need. Like,
You ever seen a mustard seed? When
I've never seen a mustard seed in person. No.
Really look it up right now. Wait, let's get Kai's reaction to a mustard seed. Yes, let's get Kai's reaction to the size of a mustard seed. Because when I seen a mustard seed, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is how much our faith gotta be. So I'd be like, oh God, I'm gonna build my faith up. Because imagine what you could do with some big faith, like with some crazy faith. And they're low. Faith the size of a mustard. God is good. God is good. But to get into our last topic a little bit is like how do you go into relationships that are a reflection of your childhood? Like how do the things that stuck in us from childhood and from life experiences reflect in our relationships?
For me,
Yeah, because you're in a relationship. So are there ever moments where you're like, where something might have happened or you might have did something or you said something, you're like, oh, that would just remind me a little bit of who I once was. Like, I don't even act like that no more.
No, you know what it is? On some real stuff, I might have some stuff that somebody had did to me when I was younger. That I took and kind of buried deep in me, and it might come out somehow. and like in my relationship, and I had to like check it right there with myself. I don't play about making like continuous mistakes of making my partner like uncomfortable, making my partner upset. Like if I mess up on something, I'm on it, like, and I'm on it, and I low-key overdo it when I'm like overthinking. I'm overanalyzing.
This is so true, y'all. Like,
I'm overanalyzing.
he's not lying. This is God.
But I don't play about really. I don't play about hurting people's feelings, like hurting people. That ain't my thing. So, but my partner, that's completely different. Like my girl, when it comes to her, I'm like mad precious with her. So it's like for me, things in my childhood, I have noticed that. My parents was young when they, our parents didn't know what they doing. Like they trying their best. So it's like my parents did some stuff to me, or said some things to me that maybe stuck with me, and I might have like internally not even known, like kept it, and I might have like done it in a sense. Like mama, I love my mama. My mama the type to like the situation be bad, and she might make a comment that's like
makes it even worse.
But she helping, but it's like
I ain't trying to hit her right now.
That's like the one thing I don't need to hear.
My grandma just did that.
That might be something that might have been something I've done with my girl, or like
unnecessary comments.
You know what I'm saying? Like, or I know for a fact, like when my pop, it might have been times in my relationship I haven't had no patience. I definitely do not have a lot of patience. I'm be honest. So that could definitely been something I've had. So she's my girlfriend is very honest. She's trying to like be better with being. It's not even just the honest, but she's trying to be better with being open. You know what I'm saying? Because it takes a lot to. As much as we talk about expressing ourselves in this generation, it takes a lot to really explain to someone you care about how you hurt me. And I always tell her like I want this to be like a free space for that, because we both have things in our childhoods where we didn't know how to deal with it then, and if we continuously grew up and not knew how to deal with it, then we get back to a person that give us these nostalgic feelings and give us these. We gonna somehow, some way let these out by accident. So for her, like I say, anything that she's telling me, like it feels a type of way or it makes her feel a type of way, I truly try to like, okay, work on it. Okay, I'm gonna
listen. Yeah.
I'm trying to do better with. I'm always trying to do better with listening. It's always something you can do better. You know what I'm saying? Like,
for sure.
In a relationship is an evolving connection. It's supposed to be like an evolving connection between both parties, and I think it's a big part to always try to never be too stern in your pride. Like, never be too like, I ain't do that, or I ain't do that, or never be too not trying to hit somebody up because you just think you're right. You're never gonna grow that way. I'm never gonna grow. I'm never gonna get nowhere with her. So I try to just work on my patience, work on not having a pride. I've never been a prideful person even as a kid. So I never try to have too much ego in it. I just try to really work on the things that make her upset, make her uncomfortable, and go from there. I think it's important. It's important to do that. And that's anybody you care about. That don't mean you gotta be just romantic. Like, anybody you truly care about.
I was just gonna ask you, like, have you had experiences as far as like in relationships outside of like an intimate relationship where you've recognized like that?
Some things being stuck?
Yeah. Or trying to come to surface level in different moments.
I can really say I'm grateful for God that He blessed me with. Blessed me with my life.
For sure.
All me and my friends are all in a certain way stuck from things that have happened to us in our life. So we make it our thing to never put nobody else through it. It's a big thing between like me and like I got really blessed with, like from my homies to my cousins. Like, I'm really grateful for the people, and that's why I just really think I am the way I am, because I've been friends with some of the same people my whole life as well. So that's another thing. So I've seen them grow up, they've seen me grow up, we've grown together. But we've all came up and we've all dealt with things that have
messed with us, and we've all tried to keep the thing, but we keep that away from people that we care about.
Right.
So I've never like felt too stuck with like relationships I've had, because it might be an encounter with a situation, but you quickly slip in the bud. I think the thing is to I know how that feels.
Right.
So why would I put somebody I love through that same situation or through that same feeling? Now, coming from where we come from, it is a lot of like things that are institutional with the way that you have to be in survival mode, the way that you always have to look out for one another, the way that you always have to be on your P's and Q's, like them type of things. Them type of things never go away.
Right. Not things that's not bad, you know. Like remember when we got mad because I didn't tell you got mad.
Yeah, them type of things. You know what I'm saying? Like that's important. Like you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Them type of things. Like when I
It's instilled in you.
it's instilled in me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Little things like that. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Holding the door for a woman. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Little things like that. I always been the one that was, you know, if you talking over somebody, I'm sorry. Let them, you know what I'm saying? Just like little polite things, yeah, for sure. But things like that, yo, let me know when you're at the crib. That's important. When I'm at the gas station, I don't even know if I'm supposed to be saying this. Like, you at the gas station, low key, leave your car, you know what I'm saying?
Right,
You
yeah.
gotta-
Like,
you got the
little
jam.
tip.
You gotta get out the jam, you know what I'm saying? Like, stuff like that. Like,
Yeah, little tip.
little tips like that, you know what I'm saying? Little things like that, like,
You gotta get out that jail. I always been on the lookout. My mama is an amazing woman. She's like super overprotective. But when I was young, I used to look at that as a negative thing. But the older I got, that overprotectiveness taught me like a whole bunch of things. Like, and overprotective in the sense of like, wherever you go, look out for who you at. Like, look how who you with. Like,
And that
you know
even
what I'm
makes
saying?
me think about, remember how you were saying like all the women in your life are aggressive and they know how to
True.
fight. So that could even be something that probably like, would you say like, it stuck with you like, cause being around strong women, you like, I want a strong woman.
I feel like that.
in certain ways, yeah, I feel like that. I've been, man.
Shout out Jay.
Shout out JC, man. I love you. All of the, I have been blessed with growing up around a lot of strong women. Like, down to my mama, down to my aunties, down to my nana. Like, I done had some women in my life that they really throw them tools with you. Like, they ain't got no problem doing that. They ain't got no issue with throwing them. Like, they ain't got no issue. My OG peaceful. Like, my OG sweet and peaceful. But I done see her spaz, like, on some people for her, but they got no problems with that. And in a way, like, I've grown up being stuck with, like, when I met Jay, she reminded me of that. Like, she reminded me of that piece of, like, she ain't playing no games, you know what I'm saying? And this when we was young, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, she ain't playing no games, she not no goofy, like, nothing like that. And I just think that them type of things do create this type of like, dang, she kind of cool. You know what I'm saying?
It create this type of bond, like, dang, you know, she kind of cool. You know, she remind me of what I grew up around. You know, I grew up, like I said, I grew up a lot around. But also, the woman I grew up around, cause it's this running joke, like especially like on my mama's side, but like it's more women than men, like in my family. So I also grew up around a lot of women that taught me how to treat women. You know what I'm saying? Like my pops though, you know what I'm saying? He taught me a lot of stuff too. But like, like down to my mama, down to my aunties, down to my nana, I was taught to how to like appreciate a woman. And a lot of men get that confused, you know what I'm saying, what that means, because like some people take appreciating in like a lot of different ways, you know what I'm saying. I just did this for you, so you better appreciate what you know what I'm saying, like that, like you know that's how, you know what I'm saying. It's like it's like a lot of things I've learned about appreciating women, of being very sensitive, being very honest, being very just delicate. You know,
That just made me think about so I was listening to Spoken Words, like performances before you got here, and the man was saying, he was like, yeah, because I hear other dudes say, yeah, she just had another baby. Like, he was like just popping out a human being is casual. He was like, that is life-threatening. And so there's even the appreciating was different. For that one man, it was just like she had a baby. I appreciate you for that. But for the other man, it was, I appreciate you.
it's
Like,
mad.
what you just did, you just gave life. Shout out to Black History Month. Shout out.
Black History Month. Black History Month.
Black History Month. But also, like, because even I was thinking about, I haven't just today, I had a moment where I noticed, because I'm a person that is very, I like to communicate about my feelings. I can be vulnerable in my friendships and in my relationships, but I realized today I had a moment where I kind of almost let something stick out that was stuck before from my childhood, even in like displaying that, even when they reflected my friendship, even with Kay, because like.
That's good.
Yeah.
Because I feel like you making better points at what you're trying to explain.
Yeah, so like, and I could sense it happening in the moment, but it was hard for me to stop it.
Mm-hmm.
So like, my mom had upset me earlier today, and I was very frustrated, and I was annoyed, and then it was other things, like other factors coming into play that was also irritating me. But you know, when your mama irritates you, there's a different, like, it's something in your skin.
Your mama
that starts boiling.
Your mama and your significant other.
Yes, well,
can't nobody get you as mad as them two.
What? So I was already irritated with little stuff, but the little stuff wasn't big enough. Like, I was still having a good day.
Right.
And my mom just set me off. And I was hot. And I was even more hot because I could not display how hot I was like I would have 2 years ago, a year ago. Because I'm like, God has evolved me, so I can't go back. So I'm trying to like find out a new way to handle this anger. And Kate was just trying to be, you know, like a good friend, just talk to me. She on some normal, hey, how's your day? Like, I'm just looking. Then I ignore her. Like, I'm ignoring her. But that's because before how I handled situations was my mouth can be very vicious. I'm one of the sweetest people you can meet, but I also have a flip where like when I'm angry, my mouth can be very disrespectful. So I've learned in like trying to deal with that, I started switching to being silent when I'm mad.
See, I'm not. This is what I don't like that. I don't like.
Okay.
My girl does that. Nothing wrong with that. I just be like, I'm such a. That's something anxious person, so I'm always trying to fix it.
And you want to know what somebody thinks.
I'm like, what's wrong? Like, what's wrong? Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
I might not even say nothing.
And then I get a paragraph 3 hours later, like, see, I just feel like that you could have, like, when I was with you, you didn't care, and that just made me feel like.
There's something, because I don't want to revert back to who because also you might say the wrong thing if I speak up. But also,
she told me that too.
But for me, I'm figuring it out internally. I'm having a conversation with God. I'm having a conversation with myself.
And I had to, I had to like learn how to like respect that though, because she taught me so much.
Space when I'm angry.
She taught me so much about patience, but like I really gotta thank my girl for that. Like she taught me so
I
much.
pray every day and be like, God, please give my husband patience.
You gonna need it, like for somebody that you really love. If it's somebody you really love and they still figuring out things out about themselves. First of all, we all like 20, like we 20, 18, 19, 20. Everybody's like what? Nobody knows.
We're learning what the type of adults we're gonna be.
Relationships at this time is probably like the hard. I'm in a relationship. I'm happy to be in a relationship. If people not in relationships, I understand because these is like very hard times. Figuring each other out.
Did you just say if people are not in relationships, I understand?
No, like if people not people that's
hard times. Is that what you said?
No, I'm saying like I understand that for people that's not in relationships because they still trying to figure themselves out.
Oh, okay.
Like 18, 19, and 20 and 21, like I just got blessed. You know what I'm saying? With somebody I truly love and like that helped me out. I helped her out in tremendous ways. And she helped me out in tremendous ways. Like
you think you better than me?
No.
No, that's have you ever seen that clip? Don't Call Me White Girl podcast?
No.
The girl was talking about Suki, and it was like, I love my man, like he loved me so bad, and she was like, you think you better than me?
No, I think and like my girl, she not transparent. Like she get what I understand. She get what I'm saying about like first of all we was close, we was best friends from August, so it was like we was locked in. For some people though, for people that's not in relationships, and they was to say like, I'm still figuring myself out. That's a reasonable understand that these are times where you still trying to figure yourself out. So if you with somebody, you need to be with somebody with patience, so they can be there also figuring themselves out and also figuring yourself out and figuring out the relationship, because that's a very difficult thing. You know what I'm saying? Like patience is everything.
And it goes apart with also the people that love you, because even like Kay, like we've been locked in long enough where for Kay, it didn't offend her. Like she just was like, I know you need your space.
Right.
So she just gave me my space, and then once I was like at a peaceful space, she was like, she just came over and sat next to me, and we just started talking. Like she understood, because I feel like also when it comes to, and this is how I think, when it comes to like moms, if a mom pissed somebody off, I'm definitely giving you your space, because I know you need your time, because you want to give somebody the rage that you wanted to give her, and it won't be me.
That's a different time.
All right, I don't volunteer as tribute.
Boy, I'm straight. I'm deep.
No, God, last year I tried to kick Kay and everybody else out of my other friends, because I got because my mom made me.
I'm straight, you.
Right, leave me alone. Look, you in the corner like everybody leave me alone. Leave him alone. But and so like even just that.
Leave him
alone.
Leave bro alone, bro.
No, seriously though. But one of my comfort movies, like my ultimate comfort movie, is Princess and the Frog. I could watch that every night. Don't laugh at me. Really? So I love Princess and the Frog, and so I was watching it earlier today this morning, and it started to show me, I started like seeing little things about the way that we allow our childhood to reflect in our relationships. So because I'm sure you've seen it, that's Jay's favorite movie. So like,
honestly,
don't play.
I ain't seen it since I was a kid.
And so now Jay needs to make sure you watch that tonight.
I know it's her favorite. I know it's her favorite movie. I just haven't seen it since I was a kid. Like,
y'all need to watch that tonight.
Wasn't it like it's a lot of theories about that movie.
What?
I think it's a great movie. I'm talking about theories.
That's another conversation.
Theories as far as the villain.
Okay, but that's another conversation.
I think it's a great movie. I'm not saying it's not a great movie. I'm
sure. All right.
It was
so
a good
in
movie.
relationship form, something that
they could be like, so he don't like Princess and the Frog.
So look, now it's Black History Month.
It's Black History Month.
Only Black
We
princess.
get one black princess though. Black man don't like it. Okay.
Stay black, y'all.
Okay.
Happy Black History Month.
I bet you like Cinderella. I bet you like Bella.
Who is your favorite princess?
I don't got a favorite princess.
So now it's just, you don't like
I ain't got.
Tiana? You don't like Princess Tiana?
Nah, see why you trying to put me in the box?
My fault. Okay.
This whole interview you trying to put me in the box. Like,
my fault.
That's crazy. That's
so
crazy.
we can wrap with the episode. In the thing, shout out Princess and the Frog, Princess Tiana. So there's a scene. Do you remember the scene where the prince and his like help Lawrence gets caught with the voodoo man?
That's the villain, right?
Yeah, I guess.
That's the villain.
Why did you just look at me like that? Wait, first of all, what did Dr. Moore, were you there in first week class?
No,
because we have to do the voodoo versus IQ article. Yeah, you need that lesson. You need that lesson. But anyway, so the voodoo man is showing them their past and their future. Right. And you know the white man, he ends up.
I ain't seen the movie about like, hey, you keep talking about, like, you remember when they went to the tree?
Anyways, if you ever watched Princess and the Frog, there's a scene. And the voodoo man so there's the Prince Naveen and Lawrence as his help. And so Lawrence is like this chubby, short white man, and Prince Naveen is like this like nice looking, handsome prince, right? So the voodoo man gets them in and he's showing them their past and their future to like try to get them to make a deal with him. Basically practically sell themselves, sell their souls. So when he shows Lawrence the help his story, he's like, you've been pushed around by your mother, you've been pushed around by your brother, you've been pushed around by your sister, and if you were married, you'd probably be pushed around by your wife. Ooh. And so, because he's been the help his whole life, and even it shows like his dynamic with the prince, like the prince doesn't really appreciate him. And so, so then the voodoo man shows him, but if you make this deal with me, this is what your future will look like. And it's a picture basically like the prince being his help. So he looked at the voodoo man like, oh yeah, and he sells out the prince so that he was running away from his childhood, is what I started to realize when I watched it this morning. He's running away from the things that stuck in his childhood because he was like a help, he was like less than as a kid or felt treated as such. He started to allow that to form in all his relationships. He allowed people to treat him as less than.
They need you at Disney. I'm saying.
Disney is crazy. And so then with the prince, he wasn't running from his childhood, but he was chasing it. Because the prince, if you watched it, you see that he was so like spoiled, and like he loved his parents. Literally, even the Voodoo Man says, he was like, so you've been cut off, huh? And he's like, oh, it's sad but true. Because like his parents cut him off until he goes out and married, because he was so used to being lazy. Even in the film, he tells Tiana, like, I had the help. They brushed my teeth for me. They helped me get dressed. I've never had to do anything for myself by myself. So he had an experience where he went to NOLA and he's sitting there chasing his child. He wants to constantly be coddled and all these different things. And so he goes through this journey now where when he's with Princess Tiana, where he's learning how to go through the change process. It was super uncomfortable at first, but he had to go through the change process, and he ends up becoming a man that's able to work it out.
After he became a frog.
After he became a frog, there was a change process, right there, ladies and gentlemen. And there was also another interesting point in the movie where Princess Tiana before she was Princess Tiana, Tiana is standing in her building of the restaurant. She's standing in the building, and she goes with her mom.
I remember that movie, but I remember her mama.
Oh my goodness.
Her mama was bad.
She goes with her mom.
She was cooking. I was like,
and the mom is looking in the restaurant like, this whole building. Like, the building looks a mess, and Tiana is like in joy right now because she feels like the building is beautiful. And it's him going to go look up the mom now. And she feels like the building is beautiful, and in that moment I realized sometimes when stuff is like a little bit messy and ugly that has stuck with us, we don't necessarily see where it's messy at because it's our normal. For Tiana, she's always had to work hard, and the building resembled a space where she was gonna have to work hard and make the building nice. So for her, it correlated to working hard, so it was normal. This was beautiful to her. For her mom, this was like, girl, you gotta do more work than you would have had to do if you didn't have this building. Like, we need to find something nicer. So like, just that aspect of we can be in relationships and friendships and things, and we're doing things that are normal for us that we don't even realize. When other people see it, they're like, that is traumatizing. Like, that's not normal. That is unhealthy. That is sick. And for you, you're like, this is normal because that's what I grew up in. Prime example, like, then like you could be able to curse out your partner 24/7 because you grew up in a household where your mom and dad constantly curse each other out.
And it's crazy because people that think that way, or people that like really have this distinctive way of like, this is how it's supposed to go, they really think that's the way it's supposed to go.
Because this is normal.
They have no other like kind of like envisioned way of like, well, it shouldn't go this way.
And remember, when you change your thinking, you can change your experiences.
I haven't seen Princess and the Frog since I was like 8.
So that's gonna be Kai's homework. He's gonna go watch Princess and the Frog.
So
So before we leave, there's one question that someone asked, and I asked the person, to answer it. So the question is, how do you let go of what was? They're curious to know. How do you let go of what was? Do you want me to answer first? You got it.
Which one? You want to rock, paper, scissors for?
No.
Okay.
You can choose.
You go.
Okay, so how do you let go of what was? In my non-professional opinion, this is, look, you know how they say how black people be like, they give you all this advice to end it off with, but I don't know.
That's just me. Like,
that's just me
you do
personally,
that.
but I don't know.
I ain't got no problem. I'm just, that's, you know what I'm saying?
Starting off with that, I don't know.
What I would do.
It's just me.
what I would do
That's my
personally,
experience
you know what I'm saying? Like,
of letting go what was,
you know what I'm saying?
in my least professional opinion.
you know what I'm saying? How I get down.
How I get down is different things work for different people for sure. I'm definitely a huge advocate of therapy. I am a huge advocate of therapy. And therapy can look like different things for different people, but I'm a huge advocate of therapy, and also acknowledge, sitting in sometimes. Sometimes it requires a little bit of you sitting in. But also, my biggest piece of it for how you let go of what was, sometimes you gotta change your thought process. Like the woman did. The woman said, if I could just, she was able to be freed from her suffering. So like, just, that's simple for me. I guess I would say, therapy, and also one, being able to sit in, acknowledge your pain, because you can't heal and overcome from something that you've gone through just by ignoring it. And and just by zooming through it and surviving it. You gotta overcome it. You know, you gotta deal with it, yeah, and also just change your thought process. You have to be able to change your thought process. But it takes a village sometimes.
Get out your safe zone. But even like I said, I love where I come from.
That's good, get out your safe zone.
I love it. But I also felt like I needed to experience something else from what I love. Because if that's all it is, I don't know what's gonna be to life. I don't know what my life. Not even a person what my life gonna be like, but I'm a person as chill as I am and I like to do the same stuff. I also love experience, and I'm also about perspective. Perspective is everything. And I think you gotta get out your safe zone to find that perspective. You don't want to be sitting happy with one perspective your whole life. It's a waste of a life. Go out, be happy, but get multiple perspectives. Talk to people, hear people out, see different things. Like you need to type things. But as far as your question.
Oh, I thought that was you answering.
Oh,
You know what I'm saying?
And to wrap those answers up, that's just us.
That's
we don't know. That's just us.
What my folks used to do personally, you know what I'm saying? How we used to, you know what I'm
How we
saying?
used to get down.
How we, but
how Unc taught us.
I don't know. That's just me though. You know what I'm saying?
That's just us.
You follow your way and see what.
You go to the beat to your own.
It's always like an analogy too. Like if you drink the water from the shoe.
look, but you can only lead a horse to the water. You can't make it drink it. So you know, in the words of Unc,
I put the straw in the Capri Sun backwards because personally,
I shake up the juice before I start drinking. You know, I put my ketchup in the refrigerator. But you put yours in the pantry.
My milk go before the cereal. Let me tell you why. Personally.
Oh, serial killer. Calm down. But in the words of Unc, walk in your destiny, walk in your purpose. Girl, get up. It's time to flourish.